Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter and welcome to part 2 of checking out the new abilities of all the various weapons in Monster Hunter Iceborne demo. In this video we'll be checking out the hammer, hunting horn, lance, gun lance, and the switch axe. Okay, let's check out the hammer. The hammer is probably my favorite of all the different updates, and I might actually main it in Iceborne because I like it so much. Let's go ahead and pick up some extra slinger ammo here. First off, I'll show you its clutch attack, so we'll go here and clutch. And boom! So this is also a tenderizing shot like the greatsword, so it will make that point on the monster a weak spot. So the things that they added to the hammer are really subtle but very nice. So the one thing they've added is now in the middle of a charge, you can go ahead and press L2 at any time to do the slinger burst. This is fantastic if you just want to sneak in some attacks or if you want to try to stagger the monster, and it does maintain your charge. So if you can stagger them here and then follow up with the bam, you know that's good. And the only other thing they added is actually a quite significant change, which is a claw attack combo, which you can do by pressing L2 after a level 2 or level 3 charge with the hammer. So here's level 1, so if you notice like there's no option, but if we level to level 2, the uppercut, and press L2, we'll zip onto the monster and we'll do an attack on the way up, which is pretty cool. Let's go ahead and finish that off. And the level 3 is where it gets really fun because you do the spinning attack towards the monster as you go towards them. Let's go ahead and do that. Hit L2. Boom, 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 boom. It's so crazy. I love it. So yeah, it really doesn't change the way the weapon's played, it just gives you more options here now if you want to try to stagger a monster before you do your attack. And if you notice you have an opening, you can go ahead and clutch claw, get in there, and immediately combo the face of the monster for some massive KO damage. Okay, now moving on to the hunting horn, one of my favorite weapons, and I gotta admit, I was a little unsure what to think, but I do love the new changes. First off, let's look at the claw shot attack here. This is another one of those tenderizer types, so it will make the weak spot on the monster with a doosh kick in the face. Now where a lot of the weapons have the slinger burst, which is the stronger slinger attack which you can do after specific attacks, the hunting horn gives that up completely in turn for a brand new note which you can do by hitting L2 after another attack. Let's see what that looks like. And it spins around. That's actually an attack that does a lot of hits. Let's check that out. Oh, that's great. So this new echo note, which you notice is that sort of F-looking note on your staff here, actually allows them to add in some new songs to each of the horns. This first one I love, which is the Impact Echo Wave, and I hope every horn has this. This is just a very fast 2-note combo, and the song itself is not an effect, it's an attack, which is awesome. So let's see if we can do this here. Watch the damage. Boom. It's 111 damage, and I don't even have attack up. So you can chain those together for a lot of extra damage as you're attacking a monster. Another cool thing is let's go ahead and queue up that extended health recovery, which is an echo song. Let's go ahead and play and encore that. If you notice, there's now an echo bubble that's left on the ground, and what that is it's pretty much it and the song before it as a sort of dopable sort of note on the ground. So you and other players can go and hit it and get that effect. And the effects carry over from the other songs as well, which is pretty cool. I admit, he does go away really fast, at least in this beta demo, so hopefully they'll make it a little bit longer. But it is a nice little system and a little special sort of sauce for the echo attacks. All in all, the hunting horn changes are fantastic. Okay, moving on, we have the lance. Now the lance is a little complicated at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's actually not so bad. So basically you have two different types of guards now. You have the R2 guard, which is your normal one, and you can move around a little bit with it. You can do a counter by pressing circle, go into power guards if you want, and jump out of it and do attacks. Well, they now have a new one with holding L2, which is a stationary guard, so you can't move left or right while you're doing it, but it acts just like a normal guard as well, but you do get some really cool options here. You can press R2 to do the slinger burst. Let me go ahead and grab some slinger ammo first. There we go. So go ahead and hit R2 here. Boom! And we can hit that, so it's a very safe way to use those slinger shots. Or we can go ahead and we can tap R3 and it brings us to our normal slinger and claw shot, which is the default for most weapons, so I don't think you'll be using it all that much, but let's go ahead and see the claw shot here. So the claw shot for the lance is a little bit special in that you are harder to knock off the monster than any of the other weapons, meaning that it is the king of tenderizing body parts more than any other weapon in the game, which makes a lot of sense because it's the lance and it's supposed to be about calculated hits. The other thing you can do, and I'm going to show you a clip here of me actually using it because it's very hard to show in the training room here, but when you're guarding with L2, you can press circle to do a counter claw. The way this works is the same way as a counter attack with the lance side, only when you counter the attack you'll end up doing the clutch claw and going onto the monster. A very fantastic way if you know the monster is needs to be wounded, or if it's a little bit slower you can go ahead and use that. Which is better than doing this if you want to clutch onto the monster. All in all, really cool changes. I like the idea that you get a third guard now and all these different options. It just makes Lance even much more of a strategic weakness exploit weapon. Okay, moving on to Gunlance, probably my worst weapon in the game, so I apologize if I don't articulate this one very well. But the Gunlance, like the other weapons, you can hold L2 and you get the ability to fire your slinger or do a claw shot. Let's go ahead and do the claw shot first, so before we go into the new stuff. And this one, unlike the lance, is actually one of those types that delivers slinger ammo from the hide of the monster. It's not a tenderizer point, and there's a real reason why it's like that, which is you can pick up the slinger ammo and you can do some pretty cool stuff with it. By holding L2 and pressing triangle and circle, or if you notice after some attacks you can hold L2 and press circle, you can go ahead and load all your slinger ammo into your Gunlance as a special new device to attach on the monster. So let's go ahead and do circle, circle, circle and attach it. Boom! And now it's got this weird sort of Terminator looking device, and this thing will stay on for quite some time, and anytime you hit it with a shell, not the lance, I'll show you what that looks like with the lance. It's just normal, but if you gun it, watch what happens. You get extra explosions. Depending on the shot that you use, the damage will be different. So let's do a charged shot here. You'll notice the damage is even higher, and of course we can do the Wyvern's Blast and it will react as well. Now, we only have one type of Gunlance in this beta to test it with, but depending on the type of shot type, it will interact with these worm stakes a little bit differently. It's just another way to really encourage, I think, gunplay with the Gunlance, because it was basically adding in an extra hit as long as you know how to aim with your Gunlance, which is pretty amazing. That's just so cool. And of course, for a weapon like the Gunlance, which is a little bit slower, being able to whip out the clutch claw like this pretty much at any moment's notice is actually a really good helper for mobility in the game as well. Okay, moving on, we have the Switch Axe, which is another one of my favorites. This thing does get some extra things up its sleeve, so let's walk through them one by one. First off, holding L2, you do get the slinger and the claw shot, so let's go ahead and check out what the clutch claw attack looks like. There we go, we do our weapon attack. Boom! That's another one that will tenderize the monster, I believe, so that's a good way to do it. And you can do it with the sword as well, so it's not exclusive to just the axe mode. One cool thing though is if you have your sword in the amped state, you will actually be able to do the zero-sum discharge in a clutch state as well. And there's a very fast way to get there, which is if you're in the middle of an elemental discharge, you can press L2 to do a clutch claw combo. And for more chances than not, it will automatically super amp your sword, which is pretty sweet. Let's go ahead and try this out. L2. Here we go. It did not amp my weapon, so let's go ahead and try that again. I'm not sure exactly how the mechanics work, but I'm sure we'll discover it in no time. Try that again here. Here we go, and if you notice now I have the zero-sum discharge. The reason for this is that managed to put me in an amped state. Now I didn't do the finisher there, but you can actually do a finisher, so let's go ahead and see what that looks like. I love how the controller revs and it sounds like a chainsaw. So that is a sword buff. But that's not all. The axe also got a buff as well. So we have stones, which is our slinger ammo. So if you notice that after certain attacks, we can hit L2 with the axe to do the slinger burst, which is kind of cool. Boom. And finally, the greatest thing that they added was a buff for the axe mode, which will increase its flinch values, or its ability to stagger a monster. And that's after you do the wide slices here, these wild swings. Once you do 3 or more, you can press the triangle button to do this awesome new finisher. And now you'll notice on the icon on the upper left, I have a glowing red thing on the axe portion of my weapon. And what that means is that now I have increased stagger values when I use the axe. So being able to have all these different choices is fantastic. Finally, it's not so important that I added in here, but why not? Because I noticed it. But there is an ability to do a special morph attack after you do the slinger burst. Do some axe chops. I'm going to hit L2 here, then R2, which will morph me over here to a sword. So yeah, there's going to be lots of new combo paths, I'm sure, for all the different weapons, but that's just one of the ones that I noticed because it was listed in the in-game manual. And that concludes part 2. I'll be back tomorrow, I hope, with the final part 3, which will be covering the charge blade, the insect glaive, the bow, the light bow gun, and the heavy bow gun, all of which are very awesome and have some exciting changes. Let me know down in the comments below if I forgot anything or if there's something cool that you noticed, and until next time, happy hunting.